control what millions see. But who controls them?
The gatekeeper.
620 news stories. 620. Curated by one of the biggest tech companies on the planet. Featured on one of the most used news apps in America. And guess what? Not one came from a conservative outlet. Not one. In 96 straight days. Now, this is not an accident. And when you combine it with mass layoffs at the Washington Post and CNN losing 2/3 of its audience, a pattern starts to form that should concern every American heading into the midterms. Now, the media is not just changing. It is being restructured. The Washington Post just cut reporters and then locked them out of their computers and building. Standard corporate procedure, sure, but the optics tell a much bigger story. Legacy newsrooms are shrinking at the exact moment the country needs information most. CNN has lost nearly 2/3 of its viewers since 2016. Now that's not a dip, my friends. That is a collapse. And at the same time, the platforms that millions of Americans use every morning to get their news are being accused of filtering out one entire side of the political conversation. The Media Research Center found among 620 top stories on Apple News in January, 0 came from conservative sources. Commentators like Devoy Darkins and Brittany Hughes say Apple News has become a left-wing echo chamber. And how do you defeat that, though? How do you get around it? Well, look at that number on the screen. We just set this up. 844-840-4963. That is the official Next News toll-free number. And if you text raw feed to that number, something magical will happen. You bypass every single one of these people who are trying to censor the truth. And you'll get notifications directly from the Next News Network. You'll know when we go live. You'll know when we publish a new video. You'll get direct messages right to your phone. A link, click, done. You see, this is how we have to fight back against this type of censorship. Dave Bozell says that the big news apps like Apple, Google, MSN, Yahoo, they are working with the left-leaning media. No surprise, really. I mean, we all remember when we saw them all glad-handing with President Trump on Inauguration Day. Well, that honeymoon is long over because we're going into the midterms. If you're a conservative voice like I am here on YouTube, and everybody who is a conservative voice on YouTube recognizes this, views are down again. And why is that? They're shifting the algorithm just in time for the midterms. You see, if all of that's true, then the midterms will not be decided by campaigns. They will be decided by code. And that's why you have to but you have to text that number. Text raw feed to 844-840-4963. And speaking of things that the media won't tell you about, there is a critical story unfolding in the metals market that has massive national security implications. Yes, there's a metal that most people never think about, but governments and defense contractors, they track it every day. Now, I've spent years watching gold and silver, but the opportunity that stopped me cold sits just a layer deeper in critical minerals, one metal above all others. I'm talking about titanium. While everybody focuses on precious metals, titanium powers our military jets, submarines, space program. And China controls most of the supply chain, creating a national security crisis, and that is where SAGA Metals comes in. They're developing North American titanium resources right here on our continent. This isn't just an investment opportunity, it's about American energy independence and national security. The defense contractors know it, the Pentagon knows it, and smart investors are positioning now before the story breaks mainstream. You're hearing it first at the Next News Network. So check out SAGA Metals while this opportunity is still under the radar. There's a special exclusive briefing that's been prepared just for Next News viewers, linked below this video. Now back to Apple's censorship scandal. Yes, it's not just the platforms. The White House is playing offense. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt stood in front of the press corps and read off a list of administrative wins. She says the media refuses to cover. I mean, the strategy is clear. Bypass the traditional outlets. Speak directly to the online audience. And that's what I do every single day. That's why we set up this phone number. You see, you got to speak to the online audience and let the legacy press argue about why their ratings are cratering. Meanwhile, commentators like Molly Hemingway, Buck Sexton, they're saying CNN deserves its collapse. And the Washington Post, the tech guild, is stunned that getting fired means getting locked out. As one put it, that is literally how getting fired works. Now, here's one person. I'm part of the massive layoffs at the Washington Post. I'm sad and angry. We all want to keep doing the work. But for now, I want to document a reality of being in journalism today. Well, listen, guy. Listen, guy. How about you just start a blog? Right? What are those things they all want you to sign up for? What is it? Like, they got these blogs, people sign up, they write big things, and people pay for it. Yeah, maybe you could do one of those things. I don't know. What is it called, Brian? Do you know what I'm talking about? I don't know. I forget the name, but whatever. Let's see what this recently fired staffer has to say.
First, we will be closing the sports department in its current form. We plan to retain several reporters to join features and cover sports as a cultural and societal phenomenon, as well as several folks to staff the print sports section. This is obviously a uniquely and incredibly difficult decision. Our sports coverage is often superb. Our sports writers are among the most talented in our business. Sports has a very proud legacy at the Post. Unfortunately, we are grappling and have been with just major changes in the way sports news is delivered, shared, and experienced across the industry.
Yep, that's the view real time when the Washington Post made their big announcement. They sent out a notification. Join us on Zoom. Leave your key cards at home. The layoff story isn't just about jobs. It's setting up a bigger pattern of media industry chaos and desperation. WAPO Tech Guild, stunned they got locked out of computers and their building after the layoffs. Newsflash, that's literally how getting fired works. Twitchy headline, the moment at WAPO. Fired employees baffled by turned off computers and door badges. Yeah, it's pretty simple. You're fired, right? You are fired.
You're fired. Get out of here. You're fired. Get out.
That's pretty much how it works. The mockery of these fired journalists reveals something deeper. Traditional media is losing credibility and influence very fast. David Burge writes, management thought they could just fire us and lock us out. They were correct. Honestly, great call by management. WAPO Tech. Last night after working hours, our members who are being targeted for layoffs by the Washington Post were locked out of their work devices, platforms, and the Post building. I wonder why.
To do a thing right now to show the management that they can't trample our rights and they can't just roll us over. Today is a somewhat scary day, but because everyone's here to demonstrate our collective power, we're going to be doing this together. Our plan is to walk into the building and show our right to work. Management has locked us out, and let us show them they can't just do it. Let's go.
We're ready to fight.
Is this real?
Take it in.
Oh my goodness. What a beautiful sight to see. Oh, no, my key card doesn't work.
It is our right to be in the building. It is our right to work. And it is our right to be inside the Washington Post and work, doing our jobs. And they're refusing to let us in. This is ridiculous and it's an outrage. Jeff Bezos, formerly CEO Will Lewis, Denise, and Matt Monahan, we deserve to work in this building.
I underestimated how quickly...
You're fired! Get out of here! You're fired! Get out!
I think it's important to remember that this is just day 5. This is the 5th workday since they've announced the proposed layoffs. And they will stoop further. And it is up to us, the people here, the people up in that building, to push back, because we're the only ones that are going to.
We'll be back. 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 We'll be back.
You got to be kidding me, man. We have a right to work at the Washington Post, demanding they have a job. That's not how it works, pal. Imagine getting fired and then going back and say, I demand I work here. No. That's just, that's the most ludicrous thing. But, I mean, we are talking about Washington Post employees here, so it's not really that shocking that they would think they're entitled. But while the legacy media crumbles, big tech platforms are quietly controlling what news millions of Americans actually see. It's really a story as old as time, right? The news feeds, curated, the algorithms directing what you see. But Apple News, this is new to me. I don't pay attention to Apple. I'm not an Apple guy. But Media Research Center did some homework. Apple News is intentionally shutting out conservative sites. Fox Business highlights the Media Research Center's free speech groundbreaking research. Let's check this out.
A new study shows bias in Apple's popular news app, that it promotes left-leaning media outlets and shuts out the conservative sites entirely. According to, the Media Research Center, after analyzing 620 stories featured on the app in high-traffic morning time slots over the month of January, 440 came from outlets rated as left-leaning. The remaining 180 were published by centrist outlets. Thoughts on Apple News and the prioritization?
That excludes us, I guess, right?
You're guessing.
You're out.
I'm way out, dude.
Is it that popular? Apple, I don't even know which app that is.
Yeah,
it's not on your phone. They give it to you automatically, right?
Okay, you know how when your phone is locked and it populates with news, that's Apple News.
You can delete the app, though.
You can,
Yeah,
or you can turn those alerts off.
I
Yes.
don't think I have it.
The only comment I'll make is that balance of left to center to right is probably the balance of media.
90% left.
Interesting.
Yeah, of course.
And the balance of the coders who are probably inputting.
Yeah, that's 99.
See, I like to create my own balance of alerts, and I choose actually some left-leaning sources because I want to see what they're talking about, what their headline is today, as opposed to what another outlet says. I want to create that balance. I don't want Apple creating that balance for me. Right. And most people aren't sophisticated enough, or thinking about their news as much as we certainly are in the industry. And so if they're fed that, that's what I worry about, just that's what they're taking on face value.
And that's why we set up that number, so you can choose. The Apple News allegation isn't just another bias claim. There's actual data backing it up that will shock the viewers. Devoy darkens. If you're using Apple News to get your information, what are you doing? It only pushes out leftist rhetoric. Scott Jennings.
So if you have an iPhone, it comes preloaded with Apple News, and it probably has notifications enabled. So most people get these phones, and they're getting news delivered to them in push notifications all day long. And I just want to focus on what you just said. In the last month, there were 620 stories that were analyzed, and not a single story came from what we would consider to be a right-leaning news source. And so that's on Apple. And then you mentioned that the 4 big apps here are Apple, Google, Yahoo, and MSN. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what they're the top 4 news website apps by website ranking. Now, Apple wouldn't be included in that list because it is a traditional app. And there's a lot of discrepancy as to what the number of users are on Apple, but a lot of reports have suggested it's about 124, 125 million users a month. And this is like when we're talking about how the right wing and the left wing are almost watching two different movies, and we're a country so divided. This is how it becomes so divisive in this country. If you're the nurse in the hospital who just doesn't have time to go in depth with Scott Jennings or Steve Dace or any of influencers in the conservative ecosystem, or if you're a housing contractor going from job to job, you're scanning headlines. You're just looking at your push notifications, and they're routinely and regularly to the left wing.
Repeatedly and regularly to the left wing. And I just checked. We got 19 new followers already on our text line. Text raw feed to 844-840-4963. Exciting. The numbers don't lie. This is the documented proof of the systematic conservative censorship at the highest level. Reverend Jordan Wells, Tim Cook has weaponized Apple News into a hardcore left-wing echo chamber. Shocking new study exposes the bias in January alone. 96 straight days, not a single conservative outlet. Now, these are not isolated incidents. It's a coordinated effort across multiple major platforms that shape public opinion. Dave Bozell, the big news apps, Apple News, Google News, MSN, Yahoo, all in bed with the left-wing media. Donald Trump even posting about it on Truth Social. This is his post. Apple News promotes left-leaning media outlets as it shuts out conservative sites entirely. This coordinated bias explains how millions of Americans are getting fed the same left-wing narrative without even realizing it. Big tech bias alert. Apple News deliberately promoting left-leaning media outlets while censoring and shutting out conservative sources completely.
Boosting left-wing media outlets while suppressing conservative ones.
Ty Pyro is joining us with the details. Good morning, Ty.
Good morning to all three of you. This all stems from a study done by conservative watchdog Media Research Center, which found that of the 620 stories that ran during high-traffic morning time slots in January, the vast majority were from left-leaning outlets, while none were from conservative-leaning outlets. According to the New York Post, Apple News featured dozens of articles last month from outlets like The Washington Post, the AP, NBC News, NPR, and more, while both the New York Post and Fox News had 0 articles highlighted by Apple during that time period. The FTC chair posting to X yesterday that he sent a letter to Apple CEO Tim Cook expressing his concerns about, quote, allegations that Apple News has, unbeknownst to its users, systematically promoted news articles from left-wing news outlets and suppressed content from conservative publications. The platform has a huge reach. Millions across the globe use it daily, and according to the company, Apple News was the #1 news app in the U.S., Canada, and Australia, and #2 in the U.K. last year. Fox did reach out to Apple for a statement. We have not yet heard back. Back over to you.
All right. Thanks, Todd.
Wow. I had no idea how big Apple News was. The scope of the censorship campaign is staggering, and it's been happening right under our noses for years. Molly Hemingway, gosh, I hope all those hoaxes they willfully aired were worth it. Daily Mail writes, CNN lost nearly 2/3 of its viewership since 2016 amid growing fears the network is circling the drain. So while big tech manipulates the news, the consequences are playing out in real time for legacy media outlets. Buck Sexton, never has a TV news network so richly deserved its ignominious collapse into nothingness. Also, quote tweeting the Daily Mail. The media collapse is not random. It's the inevitable result of years of bias, reporting finally catching up. Brittany Hughes, ever wonder how so many people seem to be drunk on the left-wing Kool-Aid? may I present Apple News.
Have you ever wondered why your niece or your next door neighbor or that crazy woman at your kid's school is buying all of this left-wing garbage and sounds like an MSNBC bobblehead every time they open their mouth? Here's why. More than 140 million people use the Apple News app every month, making it one of the most popular news apps in the world. So it matters what stories go on it. We at the Media Research Center analyzed more than 600 articles featured in the Apple News morning editions in the month of January, which is one of the app's most high-traffic time slots. Of those, 440 were from left-wing rags, like the AP, NBC, the Washington Post, and the New York Times. All of them painted the Trump administration's foreign and immigration policies negatively. Not one single article from a right-leaning outlet or perspective like Fox News or the New York Post was featured. Not one. In fact, as of Monday, Apple News had gone 96 consecutive days without featuring a single story from a conservative news outlet on its top stories. The last one was on November 5th when they ran a piece from The Telegraph about the civil war in the Sudan. This is why millions of Americans don't know about things like the violent criminal aliens being arrested by ICE or the true impact of voter fraud, and think that there's evidence that Donald Trump abused children contained in the Epstein files. There's not, because millions of Americans rely on big tech to supply them with their news, and all they're getting is left-wing propaganda slop, and they're buying it.
Uninstall the app if you got it on Apple. Well, biased media crumbles, big tech censors. The Trump administration is actually delivering real results. Here's the press secretary.
Just point out that there are a lot of wins in the news this week that people in this room have not asked about because you continue to ask questions about the same subject. So let me point them out for you. Again, on Friday, the Dow shattered 50,000 for the first time ever. This week, the American Society of Plastic Surgeons came out in opposition to gender mutilation surgeries for children. They are the first major medical group to do so. A federal appeals court today, nobody asked about that, just upheld the Trump administration's policy of detaining illegal aliens, validating the strong measures that have driven illegal crossings to historic lows, and sent a crystal clear message that under President Trump, if you enter the country illegally, you will be detained and removed. The murder rate, again, not a single question about this, has plunged to a 125-year low as crime falls across the board thanks to President Trump's crime crackdown. We also saw this week national median rents have fallen to a 4-year low following 6 consecutive monthly declines, and mortgage affordability has surged to a 4-year high. Home ownership is the core foundation principle of the American dream, and I will repeat that mortgage affordability this week surged to a 4-year high, but not a single of mention of that in this briefing room today. And again, this came out last Friday, but for an unprecedented 9th straight month, there were 0 illegal border crossings at the southern borders.
You didn't get that on Apple News, did you? See, here's the real question heading into 2026 midterms. It's not about policy. It's not about candidates. It's about who controls the distribution of information to 330 million Americans. Legacy media is dying. The platforms that replaced it are accused of ideological filtering. And the people running for office are learning they do not need any of them. The midterms will be fought over algorithms, not arguments. Right now, one side has a massive structural advantage that most voters don't even know exists. So the media collapse is not a side story, it is the story. Washington Post is gutting its newsroom, CNN is bleeding viewers by the millions, and Apple News is running a curated feed that apparently doesn't even include a single conservative voice in nearly 100 days. It's not about bias, it's about control. Whoever controls the algorithm controls what America sees, what America thinks, and how America votes. The 2026 midterms are not going to be fought on debate stages. They're going to be fought in the back-end code of the apps on your phone. And that's why you need to pick up your phone right now. You need to text raw feed to 844-840-4963. Most Americans have no idea that it is happening. So here's the question. Do you believe big tech is deliberately suppressing conservative media ahead of the midterms? Yes or no? Drop it in the comments because this matters more than any single election. And you can gear up at the Next News merch shop. Link in the description. And that's it. Sign up.
The system controls information. Information control is power. They don't want you to see this. The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now.